Welcome back to the Breaking Ice podcast. My name is Josh Ferguson, and today we are sitting down for another episode of our municipal election coverage series. And today we have our current mayor, Frank Pope, who is running as an incumbent this year. Welcome on to the show, Frank.
Good morning, Joshua, and thank you for this opportunity to answer your questions.
Awesome. Well, let's just start with a bit of your personal background. So, where are you from, and how did you choose Northern Wales as your home?
I was born in Scotland quite a few years ago. Came to Canada to work for the Hudson's Bay Company in 1959. My family and I moved from Fort Good Hope to Northern Wales 41 years ago this month. We have raised our family here. Most of them are still here, and there are now 4 generations of the Pope family in Northern Wales. So that's why I spent so much time advocating for our community, for everyone, and that includes my family.
Nice, that's awesome. Tell me about your upbringing a little bit. How has it shaped your political views or, say, community involvement?
Well, my upbringing in the UK was go to school, go to work. I quit school when I was 15 years old and went to work. My dad always said that the school of hard knocks is where you learn to do anything. And that's what I did. I went out and I worked for peanuts until the opportunity came to join the Hudson's Bay Company. I applied. My parents finally approved that I could go to Canada for 3 years. Mm-hmm. I'm still here. And it was one of the best moves I ever made in my life, was to move to Canada. And this is my home. And that's why I spend so much time here worrying about our community, working for our community. It may be one of the most beautiful spots on earth in which to live. And with what we're going through right now, I am dedicating myself to do whatever I can to keep our residents here and make this community affordable to live in. And for me, I'm here for the long term. My feet are planted firmly on the ground. I'm going nowhere. I have no other aspirations to do anything else except advocate for my community. That's why I'm here talking to you today, Joshua.
Are there any values that maybe your parents instilled in you or you picked up along the way that kind of help inform the way that you like to, advocate?
Actually, I think a lot of the stuff I learned when I came to Canada was for the Hudson's Bay Company. You work for peanuts. I worked for 3 years, then I got my first holiday. So I worked for 3 years straight with a few days off here and there. And eventually, after 3 years, I got my first vacation. And working for the Bay, they taught you merchandising. In my case, they taught me fur trading. They taught me how to run a business, how to run an office, how to be financially sound, and just how to treat people with respect. And that's what I learned with the Hudson's Bay Company. Since then, I've done a lot of other jobs over the year. I've worked for the government. I worked for the Sheeta Regional Council here for 15 years, working with them on oil and gas issues. I have a good relationship with all 5 Sahtú communities, and I learned a lot from the people here. My initial learning, I think, was from the Cree of the James Bay, where I was in one of my first areas where I lived, and they taught me a lot, and I've stayed with a lot of their teachings right through living with the Inuvialuit, living with the people of the Sahtú. All very positive years and very much a learning process. And I'm still learning. I'm still being taught lessons by people.
Nice. When did you first become interested in local politics? When did you first either run for council or mayor?
When I lived in a Clavic, late 60s.
Okay.
I actually ran for the settlement council of the day in a Clavic, and that was my first introduction to politics.
And what was your motivation then? What kind of inspired you to do that?
A lot of people knew me from my days when I lived in Reindeer Station. A lot of the Clavic people knew me as a guy that drove dogs, a good northerner, and a lot of them asked me, Frank, why don't you run for council? We could use some stability and another voice. And I did, at their insistence. And that was my learning process in getting into local politics.
And what did you find that experience enjoyable, being on council then?
Yeah. That's when you learn how to make hard decisions for your community. Some are not always popular, but if you weigh the pros and cons of every issue, if you've got a good head on your shoulders, you can usually come up with the right solution. And I think that we did. That was my start into politics. Then going from a Clavic, I went to Fort Good Hope as the settlement manager, where I actually was the end-all, do-all for that community for many years. Very good years. I also worked at that time with Colville Lake as an administrator. And again, all a good learning experience. That was my introduction to the Sahtú. I was living in Fort Good Hope. And I have an awful lot of good memories going back to that. Just as friendships and working on behalf of our community.
Nice. So why are you running for office again? The question is, why are you running now? But since you're currently in office, why do you want to re-up your candidacy? Well, how come you're continuing?
I think this may be one of these times. Norman Wells, for the 40 years I've lived here, has gone through booms and busts. I think we've finally hit a bust, and I don't see any booms in the future. The situation with Imperial Oil, whether they're going to maintain their residency here and working here. I feel that I've got the experience over all my years here. I've been on council off and on for, 35, 40 years. Getting a little bit long in the tooth, but I'm in good health. I'd rather be working for my community than sitting at home retired watching soap operas with my wife, and she'd be happy to see me continue to work on behalf of the community. My family are supporting me to get on with this, and at this stage I think I'm the best candidate for what we are currently going through. I have contacts Canada-wide, north to south in NWT. I have a lot of good contacts, and I'm not scared to speak my mind on behalf of our community. I really feel for our community right now. This is the toughest I have ever been in, and that's why I want to continue as mayor, to continue the good work we've been doing for the last 6 years since I was elected back in 2018, after the previous council had been removed from office by the NWT government. And I think in the last 6 years, with 2 councils, we've come a very long way since these dismal days.
What is it? The next question is kind of, what are your primary motives for running for council? But you basically just answered that. So what is it that inspires you about being involved in local office?
It's the people. I love my community. My family are here. They love the community. I have an awful lot of friends here. A lot of them who have been here all their lives. A lot of them who have moved here from elsewhere and want to make a life here, raise families here. That's what I'm looking at, to continue to maintain the stability of our community. It's on a wobbly edge right now, and I want to be able to settle that thing back and focus on what's good for our community. I think a new council, we've got a lot of things to worry about and a lot of hard work ahead, but there's a lot of good stuff on the agenda moving forward if I'm elected. There's the work down on the Curie lots where we'd like to do a development. We've done a fantastic job with the landfill. It's one of the best in the north, if not elsewhere. We now have our quarry in a position where it actually makes good money for the town. It was not a very viable effort before that. Now it is working on our behalf. I'm happy to see we've got a little downtown park that we're creating in the name of Rick Myers, an old friend who was our stability in our community as a woodworker. Great guy, and very much missed by myself and a lot of other people here. But it's just Norman Wells is home. This is the only place I've really called home since I came to Canada. Mm. So I think in 41 years here, it says that I'm stable. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not going to be running for any other office or any other position. I'm here for Norman Wells and its residents and its business community, and I'm open to any criticism that they wish to offer. I'm also open to any praise that they may wish to offer, and any praise that goes to me goes to my council, not to me. As you know, the mayor does not make decisions. The council make decisions. And that's what we've always worked that way. The mayor is just one member. He's one vote, one voice. And that's what people got to remember. The council that you elect are going to be your decision makers for the next 3 years. So make sure you get the right people in there.
What specific issues in Norwells are you most passionate about?
Well, right now it's the cost of living.
Yeah.
There is no other issue right now that's more important than that.
It's kind of foundational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is the cost to heat our homes. We're moving into winter. We don't know how stable the winter road's going to be if we have global warming. If you remember in 2019, I believe it was, on March the 1st, our temperature was 10 above zero. We lost our winter road right there. I'm concerned about it now. In excess of 1,000 truckloads of material to come in here this year. Not just to Norman Wells, to all 5 Sahtú communities.
Yeah.
These roads have got to be built on ice right from day one so that they can handle the traffic that we expect. Hundreds and hundreds of truckloads of fuel. Dangerous cargo. These roads have got to be very stable for that to do. I worry about Delaney and Bear Lake. If they get good cold weather, the lake should be good to get their fuel and their supplies in. Cove Lake, Fort Good Hope, they need the roads as well.
Yeah.
But in particular, between Toledo and here, we need that solid road. The other thing I'm a little worried about is with the hundreds of loads of fuel we need, and the fact that CN did not repair the railway line from Enterprise to Hay River after the fires, that everybody will be at the depot in Enterprise to fuel up. So that means several diamond mines, other people. There's going to be congestion at these places.
Which would just slow down transportation.
Which would slow down transportation.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. I mean, it's not easy to say, let's extend the winter road to open it earlier for heavier traffic. But remember, the safety of crossing 3 rivers is paramount.
Yeah.
Especially the one in Toledo. That concerns me greatly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how great the ice road is if the crossings aren't good.
That is correct. They've got to be taken, and that's got to be safety. And remember, it's our local fellows that build these roads. We've got to worry about their safety.
Totally.
But the other thing too, I recollect driving to Fort Good Hope in a car on the 30th of April. So we do get cold weather around here still, and it'd be nice to have that cold weather last so that we can extend our winter road season as long as we can. But I'm concerned. I mean, a lot of people we met with recently across Canada still don't believe in global warming. Climate change. It's here, it's with us. We've seen it for 15 years or more. The north is being impacted greatly. I met with some people the other day from Polituck, from Johaven, who said, Frank, we've got no snow, we've got no ice. There isn't even ice on the edge of the lakes and around the seashore.
That's this time of year?
Right now, this was a week ago. They have no ice. They are concerned too, because they need the snow, they need the ice to hunt, to trap, to fish, to get out on the land. So it's not just us. This is all over the north we're suffering.
Yeah, it makes sense that the northern areas would be the most affected by these kind of global changes. It makes a lot of sense. And you'd see the most drastic changes, mostly because even when the climate was more stable, the difference in temperature from winter to summer here is so drastic, right? So even small changes on the fringes there make a big difference in terms of a way of life that people typically have.
When I lived up in the Mackenzie Delta, we hit 45 to 50 below Fahrenheit at the end of November.
Yeah.
We still had 50 below temperatures at the end of February.
Yeah.
If we got anything warmer than that, we weren't out in our T-shirts. At 35 below, it was just beautiful spring weather. We don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
I used to use a blowtorch on my heating tank to get the flow of fuel into my house. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's what it used to be like. We used to have cold weather. The last cold weather that I recollect, it was really cold around here, was when Chevron were working up at Mountain River. My son worked on a water truck at 64 below. I haven't seen these temperatures since that day. That's 20 years ago. We don't have these cold temperatures. I used to go skidooing and driving dogs at 40 below. Hell, if it's 20 below, I wait till it warms up. It's an amazing what a change we're going through.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough. We've lost our permafrost. We've lost stability for some of our buildings. Everything that we've got to look into. Our infrastructure in the community, we've got to maintain it and keep it usable.
Yeah.
But what happens if the NWT government don't support our recent bill to cover the cost of heating fuel? Where do we go from there? Do we throw our mortgages into garbage and walk away? I got no place to walk to. This is my home. That's why I'm fighting so damn hard to maintain the status quo, that we will survive and that we will get the government levels from federal, territorial to support us. The big ask is heating fuel. All the other issues we can worry about after that.
Yeah.
But if we don't heat our homes, we don't stay here. We can't survive. That is my fight today.
What's your long-term vision for Norman Wells, and how do you plan to make it a reality?
Well, I think the long-term vision is how much longer will Imperial Oil be in our community. They're still the catalyst for what happens around here.
Yeah.
We can be a government town, which is okay. We can be a tourist town, which is okay. But in the meantime, we've got to get that repair job done on the field for Imperial Oil. We've got to keep them around as long as we can. And as a Norman Wells politician, we need Imperial Oil. We need Enbridge. That's our benefactor for municipal taxes. Mm-hmm. If we lose Imperial Oil, the town loses $5 million a year in taxes. That's what we run our town on.
Yeah, that's
We've got to keep them here working for us. We need them, whether it's 10 years or 20 years or 5 years. We need them here as long as we can. A lot of people maybe don't like Imperial Oil. That's a prerogative. But remember, the oil field here is owned by the federal government. They have the surface and subsurface rights to this oil field. Imperial Oil are the operator. Mm. And that's one of the things that we've been emphasizing recently, both Mr. McNeely and myself. You guys own the field. The issue we've got now is oil, heating fuel. Come to the table and support us. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah, it seems with the duration that Imperial has been here, it feels like not that big of an ask.
No.
All things considered.
That's right.
Norman Wells is comprised of a diverse population. We have camp, rotational workers, long-term residents, and 3 to 5 year residents who are transient. How would you balance the needs of all these residents?
I think the first thing we need to do is make this town, this beautiful region, affordable. So that when people come here, they can bring their families. Our education system, our healthcare system all have to be brought up to a point where people appreciate what they're getting. I'd like to see full-time nursing staff here, not rotational. I'd like to see a full-time permanent doctor in town. This is a lot of the stuff that we as a municipal government can fight for with our government. Mm-hmm. We can't take all the responsibility, but we can advocate on behalf of all these things that people talk about. Education and healthcare, they're the two primary reasons that people, the primary things people talk about. When I'm talking about how you like Norman Wells, well, the school system is good, it could be better. The health system takes care of us, but a lot of time it's on emergency services all the time. I'd like to see these improved. I'd like to see tourism. I think it's maybe almost at a peak right now when you look at canoe companies, people out on the rivers. I would like to see more indigenous tour companies formed, that they will maybe take over from the southern operated tour companies, and then that would create more employment for our local people. Mm-hmm. It could be training in hospitality, how to treat guests, how to treat tourists. Hey, how to run the rapids in a canoe. A lot of them have done it in the past, but I don't know if our younger generation have done much of that. They're the sort of things that we should be advocating for, in my opinion.
I was just thinking about how you were talking about kind of providing these services so that, residents from all different backgrounds kind of feel like they can make it work here. And Obviously the affordability is a massive issue, and since the river currently isn't a viable option, do you think that we're kind of heading into a future where it's like more uncertain always, or do you feel like we just kind of need to recalibrate how we move things, and once we figure that out, we'll be a lot more stable?
I think we need a signal from the government, both governments, that this all-season road will be built and quickly, an accelerated construction project. I think that would give some people comfort. Get a cost of living back down to the way it was 10 years ago. Remember, one thing that you got to remember too, the municipal government in Northern Wells is a public government.
Yeah.
It treats every individual business equally. And that's what I try to insist on. We are a public government. We have got a lot of tough decisions to make, but the toughest one is to maintain and increase our population where possible.
Yeah.
We need people. I was working with Imperial Oil for a while to have more of their transient workers move back and fill their homes that they've got here. If we have all the ESO houses empty, then our utilidor system suffers. We have blockages, freeze-ups, plug-ups. So we need these houses to be filled. We need to be a flow of fluids through them to keep them safe and without having to be maintained and repaired all the time.
Yeah.
So if Imperial Oil do continue to work, who get the repair job done, are considering another 10 years here, I'm hoping to work with the local management team to get them to bring more people back to be part of a residency. One thing that the Imperial Oil did when they had all their homes were filled, there were a lot of volunteerism taking place. One thing we always had lots of hockey coaches. We always had lots of support for recreational events. We don't have a lot of volunteers anymore. People are getting tired. The same people always kept up to the plate. We need new people to step up to the plate. We need more people to come forward and say, what can I do to help our community?
And that's just easier with more people.
That's
I
want to get me more than what somebody said we're at 750. We got to get back up to at least 900. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
At 900, we're pretty stable. Any more than that is even better. But that's one of the things, if I'm back in, I'm going to be advocating to Imperial Oil, get your field fixed, get working, bring some more people back rather than transients flying in and out every 2 weeks, and that will help our community stabilize.
Yeah, that seems like a big, that would be helpful. We're going to move on to the next topic, governance and leadership. Define what leadership means to you in the context of municipal governance.
Leadership means working with your council, letting them at times take the lead. Do not be the first to speak, be the last to speak. Let the council take. The leadership to me is advocating, listening to your community members, being transparent, which we've been doing in the last while. Anything and everything that's going on, we get it on our website. We get it out on our Facebook page. We keep people informed of what we're doing. Leadership is working as a team, being part of that team, but not dominating that team. And people say the mayor's got a big say. The mayor has no more say than any council member. And I want people to remember that. We are a team. When you elect us, you're electing a team. And I like to be that team leader, but I don't like to dominate my team. I like them to take the lead, and I'll work with them.
You also need a spokesperson to be able to kind of communicate for the team, right? It's a lot cleaner if you have one person doing that than if you have 5 doing that all the time.
That's true.
Yeah.
And when you have every time you have an election, you have a new council, they will deem the mayor, and normally as their spokesperson, who will deal with the media, who will deal with the public. And I've always had an open door. I'm always available at a moment's notice by a phone call if somebody's got an issue, and I'll meet with them. We did a lot of that in the last few years, and a lot more in the last 6 months than we did in the past. The cost of living has got a lot of people talking, and I am making myself available at their request.
I'm just going to check the cameras to make sure we're still rolling, and We'll be right back.
You do whatever you need to do, my friend.
Okay. Yeah, we're still good. Okay. How do you handle personal conflicts in a professional setting? Can you give an example, if possible?
When you have a conflict, you've got to think about it as to whether maybe you personally are the reason for that conflict. It can't always be the other person. You've got to be able to sit back and review what the issue is all about. Is it serious? Is it chicken shit? Is it important? And the only way I find to resolve any type of conflict, if it's with an individual, with a group, is you sit down and talk it out. You don't talk about it behind people's backs. You have to sit down and be manly about it. Say, okay, guy, what have I done to hurt you? Or here's what you've done to hurt me. If it's verbal stuff, we can work it out. So far, I've never had to get into any physical conflict, and I'm happy for that. 30 years ago, I would have welcomed it, but nowadays I couldn't handle it. But I think the thing is talk and dialogue and work it out face-to-face, one-on-one.
Can you be impartial if you have to work with someone you dislike?
We're talking about working with my council.
Yeah. We're talking about working with people, either in the council or the office, but someone that...
Every time you have a council, you have a day, there's like a group of people.
Sure.
In my position as mayor, as the chairman of every meeting, I will treat every member of that council with the utmost respect they deserve. I will expect that same respect back from them. Mm-hmm. Whatever has happened in the past or will happen in the future, at that council table, it is respect, nothing but respect.
How do you work as a part of a team during a crisis? How do you do that? Not proverbial you.
Well, all I can do is use whatever expertise I've got to offer advice in a crisis. I will wait for the people we're dealing with, whether it's a team. If they need me to do something, I will take their direction and do it as they see that they would want me to do it. I would not go off on my own half-cocked because I want to do this or I want to do that. It'll be what the team tell me to do, and that's what I've done all my life. Once in a while, maybe you want to do things yourself and say, well, I know better. No, that's not me. I need the team behind me so I can do things. So I have the support of the team, whether it's a council, a committee, whatever it is. We got to work as a team. That's what we've got to do in this community right now. We've got to pull this entire community together, working together. I believe it was Councillor McCoy said that in a meeting yesterday. The only way we can overcome all this adversity is working together, cooperating with each other, and supporting each other. And I certainly agree with that.
One thing I've heard you say lots through different media things that you've done is that you are hoping or asking the GNWT to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. Do you feel like the town of Norman Wells has area to improve in that sense? And if so, or if not, how much ability does the town of Norman Wells have to be proactive versus reactive? I understand that there's not the similar kind of resources that the GNWT would have.
Okay. I don't think that the GNWT have been very proactive when it came to the loosening the barge services. I mean, we knew last fall, after the fiasco we had with the last barges not coming into Toledo and Norman Wells, that next summer was going to be just as bad. NWT government did not declare no barges until May. Ridiculous. There was no proactive activity there. It was reactive. I have met with several members of the cabinet, the Premier. I have offered on behalf of our community that we will work with them to be proactive moving forward, whether it's to do with the Mackenzie All-Season Road, whether it's to do with resupply to our communities. We don't want them going off and doing it on their own. We want them to work with us. I think I heard at the meeting yesterday, we have a lot of good, talented people in our community who can help the government do the job better, proactively. And that's what I'm going to be advocating for. Don't do it for us, do it with us. We're just as smart as you guys are. And we have a team here of 750 people who will work together to help you do your job better. But get off of this reactive and become proactive. And that's one of the things I've really been emphasizing with government over the last few months.
Moving on to our next topic, we're going to talk about community engagement and representation. How do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes? / how have you done that over the last 6 years?
Well, every council meeting is a public meeting. People are welcome to come to the meeting and sit in. People are welcome to come to council and make a presentation, raise an issue. We now have this new technology called Teams, where people can listen into our meetings. And we continue to keep people advised of what's going on. I've heard somebody say that maybe the minutes of our meetings don't give enough detail. Well, when we did put a lot of detail out, we were told by government, you put too much detail into your minutes. The reason of minutes is to make sure that resolutions are captured in black and white and that the public know what decisions you're making. How you reach these decisions is up to you. But the resolutions are what the minutes reflect. And we continue to do that. We have a terrific team of governance folks working for us. Everything we do, all the decisions, things that we know, we put it out on our website. We keep people informed to the best of our ability. And I think we've been even more tuned into doing that in the last year than maybe we did in the past. We're getting better at our job. You know, we're learning all the time how to do a better job for our community. And we are open to criticism. No, we don't need people going on Facebook and bitching and complaining. Come and talk to us. Don't be anonymous. Speak to us. Tell us what your issues are, and we'll work with you. And if there's anything you want to question, we'll explain to you. That's how I look at it. A lot of my one-on-ones with the public are sitting down and they got an issue, we explain it to them and they go away happy or not, but we do explain our decisions. And that's got to continue. We got to be very, very open to talk to people and the businesses. The business community, the same thing. Come and talk to us. And anything you come and talk to me about, if you wish, I will then take it to council and we will discuss it as a council on your behalf.
Going back to the minutes briefly, you were talking about how you guys used to put more detail in and then government, I don't know, said that it was too much. As a resident, I've gone and looked at minutes and they're frankly hard to decode. Mm-hmm. I don't understand them. And frankly, I get bored looking at them. So I don't feel like I can necessarily keep up to date on resolutions and things like that, especially without context. Yep. Do you something personally, I would like there to be more transparency in that way. I feel like so often government paperwork or whatnot is jargony and coded and whatnot, and it's just a nuisance to deal with. And in my line of work, I'm always aiming to make things as simple as possible, as simple to understand and clean. Do you feel like there would be an appetite in the public to understand more about what's going on with council, despite what the GNWT says? There's, I think, real value in having your residents, have transparency with how municipal decisions are being made.
Without a doubt. And once this new council is elected, they may go ask the staff for more detail. It's that simple. When we were told that we put too much detail in it, we said, thank you, we'll take your advice, and we'll make sure we're doing what we can. We put as much detail in as we can. If they want more, that'll be up to the council to tell staff that's what they want. And then we'll move on from there.
That makes sense. So as a resident, if you're interested in having more detail in your council minutes, go talk to town. That's the best way to kind of move things forward, as opposed to feeling like there's no recourse. And I feel like so often...
But before you go any further on that, come to the damn meetings. If you're interested in what we're doing, come to the meetings. Tune in on Teams.
Yeah.
Get it firsthand.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion, if you're that interested in what's going on.
Yeah, that's fair. That's completely fair. Given the unique governance structure, how do you view the relationship between municipal and Indigenous governments?
I don't think it's as strong here as it should be, or it could be. I'd like to, with the new council in place, the previous council made many overtures to the Northern Land Corporation to come and have a luncheon meeting or a dinner meeting and just come and talk about mutual issues, things that we can be doing together. And as soon as I'm re-elected, I'm going to be making that overture again, because we are stronger together. If we're each going in our own direction, different direction, we're weak. So it's a good question, and it's one that I've worked with for the last 6 years, and I must say I've been very disappointed in my inability to move forward on that one. It is paramount that we work together. We can do so much as a team, working together, sharing our resources. Yeah, it's a good question, and that's where I am right now. And I am committing right now to moving forward as soon as this new council is sworn in, to making overtures to the Northern Land Corporation to work with us and for us to work with them.
Yeah, to me it seems like, unity is best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about economic development, and then current issues, and then I have a few questions for you on top of that. So, in terms of economic development, should the town play an active role in supporting the business community? The reason I ask that is because I think it's, if you define kind of municipal responsibilities, so much is about, making sure that there's basic amenities and things like that, and just taking care of all those details. And then some people might argue, let business community fend for the business community, and kind of, make it as easy for them as possible. And these are just different opinions, but I'm curious about your opinion. Should the town play an active role in supporting the business community?
Very much so. We need to be proactive. As I said recently, we need the normal Chamber of Commerce to get reactivated. We need an avenue to work with, rather than talking to every individual business and working with their specific issues. If we had a team representing the business community, it would be so much easier. That's how it used to be here. I think we used to have monthly lunch meetings with the town, the Chamber of Commerce, and I believe we used to have as many as 40, 50 people at these luncheons, the business community, talking about issues. And the town were always at these meetings. We were there to listen, but it was the Chamber of Commerce who drove the bus at that time. And we supported everything they did to the best of our ability. Whether it was improved services, whether it was maybe needing some better road access, whether it was doing a better job of snow removal. The business community was strong as a team. Right now, they're fragmented. Pull the business community together, and then we work with the town. We're saying, let's work with the Northern Land Corporation. It's the same with the business community. It's hard to deal with 30 or 40 different people, but it's very easy to deal with a team. The town's team, Land Corporation team, business team, all working together. That's how it's got to happen, in my opinion. But we're open to any suggestions. We may not agree with them all. We may not even enact them all, but we'll hear it. And we'll debate it amongst ourselves on how best we can help.
That makes sense. It's less of a, direct intervention and more of a, how can we, through the responsibilities that we are in charge of, aid the business community in doing their business smoothly? Like you were talking about road access. Like I hadn't even considered that. Mm-hmm. And that I can see how that would be like, a municipal purview to kind of help.
Or somebody wants to develop a new subdivision.
Sure.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
We can work collectively with the developer. We're working to do some planning for what they still call the Kachuri lot, although it's the town lots. Mm-hmm. We want to put a development in there. We're kind of on hold to do any of that right now, given our current situation.
Yeah.
But I think that's where our next housing may come from. That's where our next park may come from, is on that property. And that opportunities for the business community to get involved and take some of these opportunities on for themselves as a business or as businesses working together. I think that's our job, is to make their access to these opportunities open and available.
So my next question is, how do you assess the current support for local business by the town, and what changes would you like to enact?
I think we've been very open. I think we've been there. We did a lot of work on behalf of some of the businesses. Other businesses maybe less so, who maybe have not come to the table and asked for help. Those that have, we've worked very, very seriously with. I'm not going to name the business we've worked with, but they know who they are and how we've helped them. Our staff have helped them when they've had some issues and problems that they couldn't overcome. We've helped them overcome the problems, and we've helped them do better as a business. And I think we'll continue to do that. I'm hoping under a new council, we will have an economic development person there to work with businesses where required. But remember, we got GNWT business wings here as well. They should be doing their job on behalf of the business community. Again, I keep coming up with a team effort. Whatever they can work as a business, with the government, with the town, let's do it collectively.
Do you think that the kind of stratification of the community and that whether it be Indigenous governments, municipal government, and the business community and the lack of Chamber of Commerce, do you think this is all a symptom of kind of what's happening largely in our culture in Canada and North America in terms of the fractionation of groups?
It would appear to be. And that's why I think that we have a lifeline here, being a small community. Cities are in turmoil, good for them. We are close to turmoil because of our cost of living. But we don't have another lot of bad issues other than the drug trade. We do have a bad drug situation in town. It is up to us as a community, as a town council, as residents of this community, to work with the RCMP to try and eradicate the drug culture we have in our community. That is one thing that's really concerning me. And you know what? I've been so busy worrying about the cost of living, I haven't had a lot of time to get into that so far. That is on my radar. We're talking again about homelessness. We're talking about shelters in the winter for people who don't have a place to stay. The couch surfers. What can we do to help them? To me, that is a good opportunity when we come to discussion like that, to work with the Northern Wales Land Corporation, to cooperate on that as to what can we do. The town currently has the food bank, which also services as a warming shelter and can serve as a cooling shelter in the summer. That's the start. We got a long way to go on services of that type. But the town council, that's not literally their mandate, but they can work with other people to make it happen.
What the next topic I want to, that was, thank you for your answer. The next topic I wanted to cover was, we're going to talk about two more topics. One will be current issues, and one will just be kind of your own assessment of your traits and whatnot. So let's start with yourself. What do you think is your biggest strength as a member of council and just as a leader? And what do you bring to the table that is, your biggest asset?
My love for my community would be number one. I'm worried about my community right now. I am putting in as much time as I possibly can to advocate for the community. I'm letting Canada know what's happening by going on podcasts like yours, by talking to CTV, national news, by talking to the national news on CBC, local news outlets. I'm trying to make people aware of what our situation is. We're a small community. The member of the Northwest Territories has one vote in Parliament. One vote.
For the whole territory.
Yes. So in the whole Northwest Territories, the 2/3 of Canada's land mass, there are 3 members of Parliament. Total bullshit. We need better representation in Ottawa. So one of the things I'm going to be looking at right now is being proactive, looking forward. Who's going to be our next government? Danny and I and Dougie Alley from Toledo went and met with the Conservative shadow cabinet members in Ottawa to put them on notice that if they form the next government of Canada, we're going to be banging on their doors next. Just because of the change of government, our situations are not going to change. We're still going to need assistance. We're still going to need help. We're still going to need our highway to be built. We're still going to need to drop our cost of living. So this is one of the things, my strength is my mouth. I talk loud. People hear me. I've got a lot of respect with a lot of people across this country because of the job I do on behalf of a small community like Norman Wells. People know where Norman Wells is now. They may have not before. And I will continue to advocate in that way with the support of my council and with the support of my community.
What do you believe is your biggest shortcoming and weakness, and where do you need to work to improve?
I need to get younger. I'm too damn old, but I'm still happy. My health is really, really good right now. I'm surprising how well at my age I can say that. I had some issues before. I've got them all looked after and repaired. And I'm in good health physically. And moving forward, my weakness is sometimes maybe not so much reason, but I used to get mad easily. Stupid things piss me off. Stupid people make me angry. And not so much again recently, but I used to be very intolerant at times to some issues and to some people. I've learned to cooperate and to co-op with that. I try and think it out before biting the bullet. So it may, over the years, have been a trait that I'm not proud of. But Recently, I've got over it. You know, you get older, you get smarter sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with it. I don't think I don't think there's anything else along that line. I'm fine.
Is there a specific instance where you kind of realize that maybe that temper or that instinct to get angry undermined your own goals and helped you realize that you needed to work on that?
Not really. I've got the ability to second thought anything I do or say. I may have done something this afternoon, but I go home at evening and sit back and say, Jesus, did I just say that? And I'll go back and apologize, or I will go back and say, Jesus, I didn't really mean what I said. Here's what I meant to say. Mm-hmm. But don't be scared to apologize to people. Don't be scared to go back and say, I did it wrong, or I made a mistake. We all make mistakes, but we got to make sure they're not serious mistakes that impact on our community. That's how I look at it.
And how do you approach a feedback, and particularly feedback that you disagree with?
I don't get a lot of feedback. I'm not on any social media. I don't read Facebook.
Even just a personal conversation.
Oh, I'm at the stage right now where I enjoy a conversation. I enjoy talking to people, whether it's negative or positive. That's what I like to do, is if people want to give me advice, give me crap, it's okay. I'm there to accept it. I do not fight back on it, but I will talk about it. I love dialogue. I love talking to people. And I'm happiest when I'm sitting down just discussing issues with people and getting their feedback on topics and then getting my feedback on the same topic. I enjoy that. That's part of life. That's part of what life's all about, is talking to people and accepting criticism. You got to be able to accept criticism without barking back.
That makes sense. for the last 10 minutes, we're going to move on to our last topic, which is about current issues and kind of looking forward. On here, when I wrote these questions, this was maybe a little more relevant, but I think still is. What is your opinion on the recent SSI decision about the environmental assessments? And how do you view that affecting Norman Wells?
When I first heard it, I took it as a stab in the heart of Norman Wells as a community. I don't think it was very well thought out. We hear a lot of talk from people like SSI where we need communication. We need people to talk to us. We need to know what's going on. Well, it would have been really good if they had thought to communicate with the town of Norman Wells and said, we've got these issues, we want you to know about it ahead of time. They did not. That to me was wrong. I think it was a very misguided decision. I don't know who their advisors are, but if it's consultants and lawyers, when you know what's happening there, the consultants and lawyers are going to make money, the community is going to be paying for it, or the communities, or the SSI, and I just don't think it was a very smart decision. It affects a lot of indigenous workers that work for Imperial Oil, Enbridge pipelines. I just wish there's a way that this could be overcome, that they would come and talk to us. Number one, we need that repair job done on that island. It's not a big job. Remember 10 years ago, they did the same process under the entire Mackenzie River down by Fort Simpson. A perfect job. Bored under the Mackenzie River, the entire width of the Mackenzie, and did that repair. This is just between two islands. It's a short little repair job. And other thing I was asking, how many spills have there been in the Norman Wells oil facility in 100 years? Nobody's told me. I know there was a distilled water issue a while ago. I'm sure there has been small oil spills over the years.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how badly they've affected people. And remember, this river is full of seepages from nature. You can go out when there's a fair wind, you smell the oil coming from the river. You watch the bubbles of the gas coming up through the river. A lot of the issues are natural, nature. But if somebody could come back to me and explain how many spills have happened that have contaminated the fish, the water quality, I'd be glad to hear it, and then maybe they can convince me that they're right in what they're doing.
What do you believe will be the biggest challenges for Norman Wells over the next 6 months?
Cost of living. The cost of living, the cost to heat our homes, the cost to put fuel in our vehicles to go on the winter road, to go down and do our annual shopping trips, making sure that our winter road is stable enough to last for the entire winter, if not longer. I think the issue is to get the cost of groceries stabilized, that people can afford to use it. I go back to COVID, when we formed what we call the kitchen cabinet, when people could bring stuff to the kitchen cabinet, take stuff that they might need for themselves. We have now got a fully fledged food bank. I want to be very clear that not $1 in that food bank has come from the town's budget or come from the town's revenues or taxes. Every dollar in the food bank has come from donations. Donations from within our community. Donations from within businesses. I recently went to Calgary and I ran into Cenovus Oil Company, who used to be Husky working up here. Told them our situation. Within 2 weeks, we had a $15,000 check in their food bank. I'm talking to other people. We're advocating to people that want to help us help our food bank. If there's food in the food bank, there's toiletries, there's Pampers, there's stuff that people need, laundry, soap, we'll give it to them. A lot of the stuff we're buying from the local merchants. We're not going down south to buy a lot of this stuff. It's coming locally. Another issue, I met with a farmer recently from British Columbia, Vancouver Island. He has established a farm down by Betchico. He shipped me in $1,000 worth of fresh pork from his farm. That is now in the food bank. I work every day trying to advocate for people to help us. I'm advocating mostly at this time, because of our situation, to get stuff into the food bank. I want people to realize that going to the food bank is not an embarrassment. It is a need. We are here to help you. We will keep that food bank stocked. Please use it. Don't use it as an embarrassment to have to go to it. Mm-hmm. Please be sure we're there to help you. That's all.
Are you optimistic for the future of Norman Wells?
We're always going to be here. We're a very close-knit people, the ones that have been here for the long term. Some of the people have been here forever. As I was saying, working together, we can overcome anything. This is going to be a tough one. We need Imperial Oil for as much longer as we can keep them. We need their money. We need the employment. We need our contracts to be working for them. That's a big one. If Imperial Oil becomes stabilised, get the repair job done, get through their environmental assessments, whatever it is, and get our costs back to what they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think we can keep our community floating. There's going to be a lot of tough times ahead, a lot of tough decisions. My big decision is going to be, can I afford to heat my house next month? I don't know if I can. I used to put about $1,000 a month into my fuel bill. I get my income tax refund in April. I've paid the rest of my fuel bill. Nothing left for me to do anything else with, but my heating fuel bill was paid. I can't do that this year. I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe the wife and I will go cut wood and move into our teepee, the smokehouse, and stay there. I don't know. I'm being facetious now, but I don't know how I'm going to heat my house next month.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest issue I see walking forward. Get rid of that cost. I'm giving Danny McNeely my full support today in the Legislative Assembly. The General need to support our resolution and get it off to Ottawa. We need that. It is paramount to our future, I think.
Are you optimistic for the world, the state of the world?
No, hell no. They're way worse shape than we are. I keep looking at the stuff in Ukraine, Russia, Middle East, Israel. There's so many things going on that are front and center. But there's all this stuff we don't hear about so much. The starvation in Ethiopia and Somalia and all these other countries. They're not front and center. The wars are front and center. But there's always all the other stuff that's going on all around us. And this is another one. We're talking about the Mackenzie River being dry. I just read the other day that the Amazon River is in the same state of affairs. A lot of the countries in South America are going dry as well. The world's in a mess right now. So all I can really worry about today is Norman Wells and the Sahtú region. And that's my concentrating on. But I worry about what's going on all around us. I worry about the Arctic defence from other countries. I think Canada is very weak when it comes to that. If it wasn't for the United States, I don't think we'd have much of a defence. So yeah, there's a lot of issues out there that a lot of people even up here have tunnel vision. They don't see past Norman Wells. A lot of them don't see past the Northwest Territories. I read magazines and newspapers worldwide every few days. I keep in touch with what's happening in these other countries. Pretty scary stuff going on out there. And I don't want to scare people, but we may be in the most stable, safest place on earth right now, up here in the north. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm not going anywhere else. I trust that we're going to be a good community moving forward, and I have got faith in our community working together that we'll get there. I'm not that worried. I'm scared, but I think we can overcome it.
Is there anything you want to say directly to the residents? Please use this time to do so. You have a couple minutes. And if you want, you can look into the camera.
Hi, good morning, Norman Wells. No, I'm I'm here. I'm going to be very candid initially. I have not been out campaigning. I've not been out knocking on doors talking to you about the issues. I've been just busy advocating for every one of us in this community. This is actually the first thing I've done to do with the election campaign. I thank Joshua for this opportunity, and I hope I can have your vote so I continue the work I'm doing, working with a new council. There's some great candidates out there. Get out and vote. Vote the candidates of your choice, and hopefully when we're sworn in on the 5th of November, I'll be at the table with my new team, working for you, the residents and the businesses. And I will put my utmost effort into anything and everything that I can do to make things better. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show, Frank.
My pleasure. Thank you for the time.